The date is December 8th, 1996. Survivor, Larry Pick. Interviewer, Naomi Rappaport. The city is Edgewater, the state New Jersey, the country USA, language English. My name is Naomi Rappaport, Naomi Rappaport, and today is December the 8th, 1996. I am conducting an interview with Mr. Larry Pick in Edgewater, New Jersey, USA. Good morning, Mr. Pick.
Good morning.
And thank you very much for welcoming us to your home.
You're most welcome.
And sharing your experiences during the Holocaust with the Shoah Foundation. We'd like to begin with your name. Could you give us your name and spell it?
My name is Larry Pick, Larry, Pick, Pearson, Peter, I-C-K.
And what was your name when you were born?
When I was born, I was Ludwig Pick. I only changed my first name, L-U-D as in David, W-I-G, and my nickname was Lutz, an abbreviation, L-U-T-Z.
And your birth date?
April 25, 1924.
And how old are you?
I'm 72 years old now.
And where were you born?
I was born in Karlsruhe,
Could you spell that?
K-A-R-L-S-R-U-H-E, which is the capital of the state of Baden in Germany.
Thank you. I did want to ask, you gave us your name at birth and your nickname. Did you have any other names at all? Were you ever?
My middle name is Max, but I never used it.
Thank you. Was your family always from Karlsruhe?
No, my mother was actually from Stuttgart, which is the capital of another state, Württemberg, and my father was born in Freudenstadt, which is in the Black Forest. After my father sold his factory in a little town called Kleinsteinbach in Germany, very small town, we moved to Karlsruhe, where I was born.
And how long did you live in Karlsruhe?
Well, we moved from Karlsruhe approximately 5 years.
Do you remember Karlsruhe at all?
No, not at all. I know we lived in an apartment and there was a little garden in the back. It was an apartment building my father owned at that time.
And you moved from
Stuttgart.
Karlsruhe to Stuttgart. What did your father do?
My father, he had a small department store which went under during the Depression, and he moved to Stuttgart. And there he opened up a haberdashery store, which did quite well. On the outskirts of Stuttgart, a small town called Backnang.
Backnang?
Yes, B as in boy, A-C-K-N-A-N-G. Backnang was about 10,000 people, population of 10,000 people.
And where approximately is near Stuttgart?
It's near Stuttgart. It's about maybe half an hour's drive by car. Near Stuttgart.
And what year was that?
That was from approximately 1930 to 1934, 35.
Do you have any recollection of your life in Backnang or
We did
Stuttgart?
not live in Backnang. We lived in Stuttgart. Yes, I have recollections. I went to, when I was 5.5 years old, I started to go to the Volksschule, which is the elementary school, until 1934, when I transferred to the Realschule, which is a kind of junior high school, until which I attended until 1936. I remember my father going to his store in Backnang. The store was open 6 days a week. And he took a streetcar from our apartment in Stuttgart to go to the railroad station. And we went by railroad to Backnang. And from there, from the station, it was a small town, he walked to his store. I also remember distinctly in 1933, I think it was May 1933, there was a boycott of all Jewish stores. and two SR-men, not from the town of Backnang. They got some people from outside of Backnang, stood in front of my father's store, took pictures, and used abusive language to people who came as customers, and my father didn't want anybody to get hurt. When he noticed that they took pictures, and at noon he closed the store.
Were you there?
No, I was not there. My father told
Told
me,
you the
and
story.
I remember it very well.
Let's go back to your home in Stuttgart. What did your house look like?
Well, we lived in an apartment. We did not own the building. It was a large apartment with beautiful furniture which my parents acquired when they got married in 1920, exceptionally nice furniture. And my mother was very attached to it. We had a housekeeper, and it was a normal life of a middle-class Jewish family in Germany at that time. We attended Hebrew school. We attended Hebrew school on Wednesday afternoon when the non-Jewish kids went to the Jungvolk. The Jungvolk is the kids until age 10, 12, Hitler youth, young Hitler youth. Well, they went there on Wednesday afternoon and Saturday mornings, and my brother and I, we had instructions in religious school, Hebrew instructions, Bible. And on Saturday afternoon, Shabbos afternoon, my mother saw to it that we went every Shabbos afternoon to Shabbat services, Mincha services.
This was in 1933,
That
34,
was
35.
from approximately 1933 until 1935, 36.
And who went to school with you? Did you have non-Jewish friends?
I had non-Jewish friends. We played together on the street. We played like the kids play basketball, baseball here. We played soccer. And we went ice skating together on a lake nearby, the Fire Lake. And we went to each other's houses, like kids do, and played together. And of course, starting in 1933, that became rarer and rarer. The distance became greater and greater. I was not welcome anymore to participate in the games. And well, some kids, of course, were like leaders to anti-Semites. Some kids were just neutral or stood by. And one kid I remember very well made a big point not to participate. He was the son of a minister, the minister of the church nearby, and they lived next door in another building.
And he did not
He
participate
made
in
a big point not to participate.
in the Hitlerjugend.
I don't know whether he had to participate in the Hitlerjugend, but he was more or less gave me to understand that he's still my friend.
Did these kids wear uniforms?
Sometimes they wore uniforms to school, sometimes they did not. But Wednesdays they always wore uniforms because they went right afterwards. They went to their meetings where they taught how to march and all kind of the Nazi ideology, the ideas of the Nazi.
Did you have any personal experiences in relationships with these young members of the Hitler group?
Well, the only thing is the last day I attended school, the leaders made out amongst themselves that they're going to beat me up, and that came to my attention, and I told the teacher, and he just laughed at me. And I left the school, and they followed me, and I ran. I mean, they were maybe 15, 20. I was by myself. And until I got to the Czech consulate, which was on the way home. And there I stood there because I was a Czech citizen. Also, I was born in Germany. And a German woman came up and berated my fellow students, and they answered, yeah, he's a Jew, but they said, so what? He's a human being too. And she more or less chased them away, that woman.
So you were not physically hurt?
No, I was not physically hurt, just emotionally again, which wasn't the first time, not the last time.
In your school, when Hitler came to power, what changed in the school itself?
Well, we got up in the morning, we said Heil Hitler. We all said Heil Hitler at that time. More and more, it was a gradual change. It didn't come sudden, yes. I mean, Hitler was like spoken of like a god. And of course, I felt I was not welcome. But I went to school, public school, junior high until 1936.
Were there other Jewish children in the school with you?
There were 2 other Jewish children.
In the whole school or in
No,
your class?
in my class. I don't know how many were, not too many in the school. They were in my class, and when I left, they were still there. I don't know what happened then later, when they had to leave.
How'd the teachers treat you?
Well, some teachers, many wore the Nazi emblem, the swastika, on their lapels. And it always depended on the individual. At that time, Hitler was only in power 3 years. Some were still quite decent, relatively speaking. And some, again, showed openly that they didn't like Jews. They disliked.
In what way did they show it?
Well, I mean, the way they spoke to me, the way they treated me, they didn't call on me,
Were your seats changed at all?
I don't
At any
remember,
time?
frankly. That I don't remember.
In the city itself, in the community, were you living in a Jewish area?
No, we lived right. There was no such thing as a Jewish area in our town. Jews were dispersed. The richer people lived in a better neighborhood. The poorer people lived in an older neighborhood. But there was no ghetto or anything. I mean,
Where did you live? What were you considered?
middle class.
And your neighbors also?
Yes.
And how did your neighbors react to the rise of Hitler and the laws that were being...
Well, some of them again were Nazis. Were Nazis before, and they're of course now more Nazis. Don't forget, Hitler came in with a good amount of. I think he had 40% of the votes when he came to power, and others were more neutral, if you want to call it neutral. They're just passive. And the laws at that time, in 1936, were not as stringent. The only thing which was in effect were the laws of 1935, the so-called Nuremberg laws, when your housekeeper had to be over, I think, 45 years old, and of course Jews could not associate with any Gentile relationships and things like that.
Did it affect you personally or your family personally? Do you remember any incidents at all?
No. I mean, it came so gradual. In 1936, it was still a very gradual affair, or whatever you want to call it. Affair is not the right word. A change, gradual change.
The Jewish community, the Gemeinde, how did it react to some of these laws and some of the prohibitions?
They founded a Jewish sports club, which was called the Reichsbund Jüdischer Frontsoldaten, which the name had to be changed later by Nazi law because it was actually called like an organization of descendants of former Jewish soldiers who fought on the front, which the Nazis didn't like, and it was changed to Schild, which means shield. And we played soccer. We had a soccer field in the outskirts was a little hard to get to. It was in the best of shape, but as kids you don't mind. And we played soccer and some handball. And we had in the Jewish community next to the synagogue was like a social hall. They put up some ping pong tables, table tennis, and we played. And that was there wasn't too much of a social life.
Did the Gemeinde talk in terms of some of the difficulties? Was there a sense of cohesiveness amongst the community as to how to behave and how to react?
Not in 36 or 35. Yeah. Very few Jews from Germany immigrated at that time. There might have been some restrictions on doctors and lawyers where they could practice, but and I'm pretty sure there was, but I don't know exact details because we had a Jewish doctor anyhow, Dr. Singer.
Did any of your friends leave? Any of your relatives leave
No.
the country at the time?
No.
Did your
None of
family
them.
ever talk about it?
Yes, because my father in 1936, being a Czech citizen, also both of my parents are born in Germany. My father's father was born in Austria-Hungary, which later became part of Czechoslovakia. So he became a Czech citizen. And it's a Czech law. And when you marry, my mother became a Czech citizen. My brother and I, both born in Germany, were Czech citizens. My father, for reasons, he was never a big German patriot, did not apply for German citizenship for us. So in 1936, my father said, "That's Hitler's a madman. He can't last much longer." And he immigrated to the German-speaking part of Czechoslovakia, the so-called Sudeten territory. That was in 1936. We could take all our furniture along. It was loaded on two railroad cars. I think railroad cars could have been regular vans, moving vans. And we went to Czechoslovakia, to Teplice-Schönau, which is a town near the German border, where unfortunately my parents, not speaking Czech, only got together with other German Jewish refugees, whose horizon was, I'm sorry to say, quite limited, because they all, the Czech Jewish population, so it's a danger much more than my parents and their small circle of friends saw it.
What do you mean by that?
Well, Hitler got, instead of weaker, he became bigger and bigger. He was more and more a threat to his so-called enemies. And I went to school in when we moved to Teplice-Schönau. I went to the German Realschule again, junior high school, not speaking Czech. Everybody almost in that school was a Nazi. They wanted in the worst way to belong to Germany. They were not permitted to wear uniforms, so to sidestep that, men and women wore white socks. That was the sign of the Nazi Sudeten people. And it was Hühnlein was their leader. In that school, it was, we had one Czech teacher who taught Czech, and he was very nice to me. Everybody else were Germans, of German descent, or felt like they are Germans. Their native language was German. In Czech I excelled, also I came much later than the other ones, but the other students were not interested in learning Czech. Well, I was interested. I also was more advanced in French because I had taken French in Germany. So I was there for 2 years. My father struggled in Teplice-Schönau. He tried all kinds of things to make a living, and money was not in oversupply.
What kind of things did he want to do?
Well, he tried to manufacture with another Jew in the Czech a kind of a shaving cream where you don't need a shaving brush. Yeah. Of course, not realizing it was a completely strange field for him, not realizing you have to advertise, and they manufacture that in our kitchen. I still have a picture. Somebody stirring the kettle and filling up the tubes. It wasn't successful, and he tried all kinds of. My father was a very enterprising person. Yeah, I mean, he wasn't down so easily. If this didn't work, he tried something else.
What was the Jewish community like in?
The Jewish community looked down on us because they were Czech. We were refugees. We were German.
They considered themselves Eastern European, or?
Well, Czechoslovakia actually belongs to Central Europe. It's one of the only countries which, especially that part. No, they considered themselves Czechs. Czech was their native language. Czech was their. They lived there for years, centuries, maybe, I don't know. And there come the Germans who didn't have much money. And the German Jews, whom they didn't like because the German Jews usually were quite nationalistic. And we did not have any much contact, social contact with them.
How about you personally?
I personally, in Hebrew school, yes, I met some. The Hebrew school was partly in Czech and partly in German, mostly in German, I must say. And the Hebrew school was very poorly run by the rabbi, I remember that one, because one didn't learn too much. All age groups, there was only one school for everybody, and one class, I should say, for everybody. So you found there 10-year-olds and 12-year-olds and 9-year-olds, and I became bar mitzvah in Teplitschönau. My father went to the pawn shop and got his golden watch, got it out of the pawn shop and presented it to me. And after the bar mitzvah, went back into the pawn shop. And my brother, who I forgot to mention, when my brother came with us to Teplitschönau, he tried to get into the school too, but he was so far behind in Czech and in Czechoslovakian history that to make it up, he would have lost a lot of time. He tried to find him a job for himself with the help of my father as an apprentice to learn a trade. That wasn't successful either, so he returned to Stuttgart from Czechoslovakia and lived with my grandmother in Stuttgart.
Your brother is older than you.
My brother is 2.5 years older than I am.
Mm-hmm. In general, what was the political feeling at the time when you were living in Teplitschönau?
Hitler, what I remember most is that Hitler had demanded the return of the Sudetengebiet, Sudeten territory, to Germany. And his demands became bigger and bigger. First, he just wanted autonomy for that part. And as history has shown, Chamberlain appeased him, peace in our time. And it was given to Germany.
How did that affect?
Well, we left shortly before the German troops marched into Teplitschönau. By shortly, I mean they were practically there. I think we saw some of them already. My father, the day before, was able, as I said, he was quite enterprising, was able to get a hold of 2 railroad cars. One was a closed one was an open one, where he had all our furniture loaded. He got some Czechs to help him. And he sent it to Brünn. To what address, Brno? To what address, I don't know. We weren't even sure it would still get out. It would still be leaving Töplitschönau. And my parents and I and the cat I had brought with me from Stuttgart left for Prague, for the interior of Czechoslovakia, the capital of Czechoslovakia, where a brother of my father lived there as a German refugee too. And also we figured Hitler would never come into Prague because the Germans were hated in Czechoslovakia, in the Czech part of Czechoslovakia. And we traveled by various means to Prague. My cat, whom I got when she was found in the street in Stuttgart, black and white cat. Well, it was a bird. She was already an old cat. They had to carry it. And my parents decided that we had to put her to sleep. I mean, we wouldn't just open the little box she was in, let her go, I mean. And we went to a veterinarian. I think he was Czech.
In Brno?
On the way, I don't know where it was, no, on the way between Töplitschönau and Prague.
How did you travel?
That I don't remember exactly, partly by street, by railroad, partly hitchhiking. I don't remember. I only remember very well the case where my cat was in. And for me, I was at that time 14 years old, a young 14 in a way, in some ways an old 14. It was quite a traumatic experience to put my cat to sleep, not because she was sick. I mean, even then you feel badly, but just because we couldn't take care of her. We didn't know where we would sleep that night. Though the cadaver was left with the veterinarian, and his wife promised me they would bury her in their garden.
How long did this take to get to?
Not long. Töplitschönau was not long from Prague. I don't think it took more than a day, because I don't remember that we slept anywhere, unless we slept just in a railroad station or so. But I don't remember it. We rang the bell at my uncle's house, Max Pick. And he took us in, of course, and we told him our story, and we stayed there for approximately 4 or 5 days. When we continued on to Brno, why my parents picked Brünn, I frankly don't remember. I know they had a friend there from Töplitschönau, from Töplitschönowich, and maybe that was the reason. Unfortunately, my uncle tried to tell my parents that they should get out. He himself had gotten himself a visa for himself and his wife to go to Panama and to Haiti. He could go to either country. As a Czech citizen, with a small payment, you could get those visas. And my parents said, no, they are going to the United States. They will get an affidavit, and my mother has cousins there, and they want to go to the United States. So we didn't go to Panama or Haiti. We went to Brno. And in Brno, my father left, I think, a day before us. When we got there, he had an apartment rented. Sadowat 20 was the street name. And our furniture was unloaded. My father borrowed some money from another friend to pay for the unloading. We gave the person the promise that he would sell some of the furniture to repay him, which he did.
We're going to have to change our tape now.